Hey everybody, Steve and Lindsay here, and we're back for part 3 of our kettlebell swing series. Last week we taught you how to nail your hip hinge, and this week we're going to teach you how to lock it out. Before we get into patterning the swing, the first thing you need to understand is that the kettlebell swing is actually just a series of hinging and then locking out, and then going right back into your hinge again, and then locking out again. So unless you learn to lock out properly and solid, you're not going to have a very powerful or effective swing. So first we're going to have Lindsay help us by demonstrating a proper hinge to lockout, and then we're going to troubleshoot a few things that might be going wrong to nail before we go into patterning the swing. So first we're going to have Lindsay go right into her hinge position and get ready to lock out. The first thing to understand is that as you lock out, you're not extending your hips forward or pulling backwards with your back. You want to just think about pushing your feet through the floor. So think of it as a pushing exercise where you're going from your hinge, driving your feet into the floor, and continuing to press your feet in the floor until you start to feel tension right in your quads, your glutes, and your stomach. So this is a very solid position. Once you're in your lockout, you want to make sure that you stay tight and locked out as the bell is floating and coming back down to the hinge position. So I'm going to have Lindsay hold her hands out. And just to show you how much tension she's creating, as I press down, she shouldn't be able to release her hips, her knees, or her core. So this is a very solid position. You're locked out, creating a lot of tension in your glutes, your quads, and your stomach. One of the things that can easily go wrong is when you don't think about pushing your feet through the floor and just extending by pushing your hips forward. People tend to extend through the hips and create a little bit of extra arch in their lower back, which can create problems and create a little bit of crankiness in the low back, which we want to avoid. Another thing that can easily go wrong when you're thinking about pulling back with your back and not quite locking out your knees or your hips, you'll see that her knees don't lock out completely because she's not pushing her feet through the floor and locking her quads out. And the other thing that tends to happen in the lockout is the neck tends to shoot forward or bend towards the floor. So when you lock out and you push your feet through the floor, you want to get nice and tall, complete that lockout position, and stay there until you're ready for the next rep. Awesome, guys. Now that you've learned the two main components of the kettlebell swing, which are the lockout and the hinge, the only thing left to do is to pattern the swing. So next week's video will be taking you through progressions on how to add a kettlebell to the mix and start swinging some bells.